number one thing for me is, look, making the right decision. We talk about, the correlation between turnovers and wins and losses. I just want to see the offense put drives together. I want to see the quarterback go out there and make good throws, go through his reads, and perform like we know he can.
That was Gerard Mayo. That was brought to you by Shaw's, perfecting the art of fresh. He's talking about what Jacoby Brissett has to do this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. This is Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. That is Phil Perry. And God, do we need a game, brother.
Badly. Can we please have a game to talk about? Thank God it's on the horizon.
All right. Not only do we have a game, but we're going to have Geoff Hobson, who covers the Bengals and has been doing so for about, I would say 30 years, join us to tell us whether or not that team is actually vulnerable and whether they could serve as a model for the Patriots in their ongoing rebuild, which is now 5 years old. Phil, simple question here. Can the New England Patriots keep this game tight? We've heard so much panning of their chances this year. This is a top 7 or 8 team if we did power rankings. In terms of the Cincinnati Bengals, can number 31 New England hang?
I think they can. I think there's a path to them hanging. Now, will they win the game? That I'm not ready to say. But I think I'm going to pick them to cover, Tom. I really am feeling strongly about this as time goes by because I feel as though the Patriots are getting the Bengals, dare I say, at an okay time. Their quarterback's coming off a serious injury. They don't typically, with Joe Burrow, start the season fast anyway. They are 7-8-1 in September since Joe Burrow took the reins of the Cincinnati Bengals offense. They also, the Bengals, happen to be, we don't know anything about the 2024 defense just yet, but based on last year, one of the worst run defenses in football. And we know that's what the Patriots are going to try to do. So this, in some ways, not the worst matchup imaginable.
The run game, the Patriots are going to concentrate fully on that. Gerard Mayo spoke about it at length today. Phil Perry, losing a small girder, asked a few questions to Gerard. Here's Gerard Mayo on the run game and its importance.
I would say on both sides of the ball during the preseason, I thought we played physical up front. And I thought they were able to move bodies and run the football. And we'll see if that continues going forward. I feel good about the personnel that we have out there, and I feel like, we have to run the ball as a team going forward to win football games.
I will say one other thing before we get to the run game conversation. Kentucky, Ohio line in early September, it's hot as hell. It is hot as hell. So it's going to be a long, grinding game. And the Patriots did put a fair amount of effort in to their conditioning. But this is going to test it. It's really going to test it. They want to play this game in the teens, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. I think that's going to be the case for them.
They want to play the season
on a weekly basis. Yes, exactly. They have to try to do that so that their season doesn't fall apart the way my mic stand almost did right there. Able to get that thing back together. Thank God. We got a new studio here, Tom. We got to take care of this thing.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Yes, keep it in the teens. Yes, can the Patriots defense show some creativity and some aggressiveness without Matthew Judon, without Christian Barmore, to be able to pressure Joe Burrow. This offense is dynamite. It looks like Jamar Chase is going to play, Tom. He was out at practice in uniform on Wednesday. We'll see if he gets a new deal between now and then, but if he's on the field, my guess is the plan is for him to play. How do you solve all of those issues that they present to you offensively? Because that pass game, when Joe Burrow is right, is damn near unstoppable.
One more question before I bring in Geoff Hobson to go deep on the Bengals. And for those of you watching, we also have plenty of Devin McCourty on the upcoming season. We spoke to him earlier this week as well. We want you to chew on that interview. You're going to like it. But one surprise that the Patriots will pleasantly drop on their fans this weekend.
I do think the run game is going to be relatively productive. I have been in this locker room, as you have, quite a bit over the course of the last few years. I have at times sensed resignation, easy for me to say, from people I trust who understand what good football and good offense specifically looks like. And I have gone to some of those same people this past week for honest conversations about how the run game specifically looks and how much confidence there is in the run game. And I'm sensing that they feel as though they have an opportunity to move the football on the ground. Ramondre Stevenson, I think you would agree, had a very nice summer.
Yep.
Antonio Gibson, already, to me, looks like a very usable, competent running back. There are questions on the offensive line. I get it. But I think they've taken to this new system under Alex Van Pelt and Scott Peters, and I think the matchup here matters. The Bengals were 28th in run defense success rate last year. They were bottom 10 last year, Tom, when it came to yards allowed on the ground per game. There are going to be opportunities for them, in the run game. And if that means the Bengals have to play with heavier boxes or they have to send run blitzes, maybe that opens up a few things for them in the passing game. That's just going to have to be how they try to live all season long. And they got in my opinion, a little bit of a soft landing in week 1.
I think people are going to be surprised by the Patriots' competency. And I am not saying it's going to look like Air Coryell or Kyle Shanahan's offense, but I think that there will be a higher level of competency than people imagine. David Andrews actually playing will make a difference. Demario Douglas as a factor after a summer preparing and at full health will matter. Hunter Henry being out there. Jermichael Hasty is a third down back. I think you might see him making a difference. So I think that the competency is going to be there in a way that's surprising and in a way that you really didn't see after the Buffalo win last year. Patriots win 25-22, and after that, whoosh, all done. So to me, people are going to go, wow, they're not as bad as I thought. Not good, but not as bad as I thought. Give me one disappointment that people are going to be sucking on Monday.
I think whoever is playing at that second cornerback spot, there's the potential for that player to have a long day because they have two great receivers, and I think Christian Gonzalez is on track to be an excellent corner. And so whoever he's matched up with, and my guess is it would be Jamar Chase if Jamar Chase is on the field. I think he's going to be able to hold his own. He's not going to shut anybody out, I don't think, in week 1, but he'll be able to hold his own. What happens at that number 2 spot? Is it Jonathan Jones on T. Higgins? That, to me, I think Jonathan Jones is totally prepared and athletic enough and competent enough, to use that word on the defensive side, to be in T. Higgins' hip pocket, and I'm not sure, Tom, it will matter at times because Higgins is just that prototypical jump ball down the field along the boundary kind of guy. We saw him feed Marcus Jones his lunch a couple of years ago at the end of that season just because there was such a difference in size and frame. There was nothing Marcus Jones could do even when he was in good coverage. Something similar could happen again on Sunday.
That was one of the most disappointing games of the last 2 years that people will selectively kind of blot out. Patriots right before Christmas fell down 22-0 to Cincinnati. I think it was by halftime. Could have been early in the first quarter. They battled back. They actually got to a point where they could have won the football game because Cincinnati was basically mailed in and putting together the Christmas toys mentally. So they laid down in the second half, and then there was a Ramondre Stevenson fumble.
It was. Right near the goal line.
Strapped him. Patriots could have pulled off a surprise win. But those are the things where this was a self-sabotaging team, a slow starting team, and a fairly stupid team. So the competency on all 3 fronts has to be present. People will selectively remember that the greatest coach of all time had an organized, innovative, efficient team, but the Patriots haven't been that for years.
No, it's been a while, and I do think the secondary will be a strength of this team. They will be the reason that they're in a lot of these games. I just think this matchup in particular, in the same way where it's a little bit of an outlier on the defensive side, so the defensive Patriots opponent, they are especially weak against the run. They are especially strong throwing the football to those 2 wide receivers. So whereas the secondary the rest of the season, to me, is going to be a reason why they win some of these games, maybe we don't expect them to, it could be a little bit of a problem on Sunday.
All right, Phil, let's get you out of here. Obviously, you can read so much more of Phil's stuff on NBCSportsBoston.com. We're going to have game previews, pregame live, postgame live. You'll catch Phil, but let's get you out of here. I'm going to bring in Geoff Hobson from Bengals.com. Bengals.com. Okay, folks? Ladies and gentlemen, I bring in now a revered scribe in the NFL. It is Geoff Hobson, better known as Butch, because Butch is originally from Framingham, Massachusetts. I've known him for a long time. Butchie.
Tom, it's great to be on with you. You've grown into a New England institution, so it's great to be with you.
Butchie, this Bengals team is good, and when they were here in 2022, they got the drop on the Patriots 22-0. It wasn't even close, that game, until the end when they took their foot off the pedal. But to me, is there any vulnerability at all that you see for these Patriots to somehow find a way to make it close here?
Well, we brought back Von Bell because we knew we were going to open with the Patriots. Thank God he forced that fumble, or else it wasn't. It was going to be 25-22, if not for Von Bell. But I think, Tom, if you're looking at this Bengals club, that might be they're a little dinged up on the defensive line. They've lost a couple of edge players, the guys behind Hubbard and Hendrickson. They've also lost their rookie defensive tackle, McKinley Jackson, won't be available. So their depth, I think, is a little bit thin on the D line, and they're very talented in the secondary, but they're also a little young at cornerback. They're going to be starting Dax Hill, who's a transplanted safety, and he's had a hell of a camp, but it's going to be his first NFL start at corner. And behind him is a good second-year player, DJ Turner, who was the fastest guy in the 2023 combine. So they've got talent there. They just don't have a lot of reps at corner. But I would say those are the two spots that kind of stick out.
All right. Well, the Patriots are not what we would call a juggernaut offensively. I think they're going to be more competent than people believe, because I just don't think they can be as bad as people imagine. But offensively, that's where the Bengals' bread is buttered. How has Joe Burrow looked this summer coming back from his injury? And what kind of involvement do you envision for Jamar Chase?
I mean, Burrow's looked terrific. I mean, Tom, this is the first full training camp he's ever had. 2020, it was COVID. The training camps were cut back. 2021, it was his knee rehab. 2022 was his appendectomy. He never did anything until Labor Day. And last year he had a strained calf. He never really was. He missed all the camp and was never really any good until October. So the fact that he's up and firing on September 4th is, that's like Clemens on opening day. I mean, that's huge. It's a big lift, and what do we think from Jamar Chase? I don't know. The guy's a very unique football player, Jamar Chase. I mean, he could do anything he wants. So I would expect him, if he's ready to go, if this thing gets done, I think he'll play significant snaps. Now, will they protect him? I imagine they would, but it's not like he hasn't done anything. So he's been doing he's been doing stuff. So they would probably want to protect him, but. And here's the other thing too, is he's got a connection with Burrow that, they're the classic, they could roll out of a snowbank in Framingham on Route 9 and come out and hit. They've been doing it since 2018, and so I don't think that's going to be much of a problem getting synced up.
You mentioned that they've been together for a long time, and the fact that he came to the Bengals a year after Burrow and T. Higgins came in. I mean, the Patriots have an opportunity to kind of model a little bit of what Cincinnati did. They got Jalen Polk in the second round. They got Drake May at the top of the first. Next year, they'll have a first-round pick they could spend on whether it be a tackle or a wide receiver. It was such a meteoric rise. Is it hard to envision this team and this Bengals team sticking together to see it through to completion, or have they already hit their top?
Well, I think, that's the great question. I mean, if you look at the number they're going to give Chase, and you got to remember, Burrow's a $50 million a year guy. I mean, the thing they're keeping intact is their coaches. I mean, they'll keep their core. They'll keep their core. I mean, Burrow and Chase is obviously a big part of their core, and there'll be guys on defense that they'll come up that they'll try to keep, and on the offensive line. But let's face it, the salary cap is a salary cap. I think where their deal is their continuity. Zach Taylor's going into his sixth year. They've got a new offensive coordinator, but that offensive coordinator has been with them ever since Zach's been there. He's been Burrow's quarterbacks coach for 4 years, Dan Pitcher. Lou Anarumo is going into his sixth year on defense. Again, the system is intact. And I think that's I think that's a big reason they went and hired a offensive head coach in Zach Taylor, because they had just coming off a stretch where they had lost 3 offensive coordinators, and they kind of were back would always starting back at ground zero. And so I think they're thinking, look, it's as old as Paul Brown and Otto Graham in the 50s, and just as recent as Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Get the coach, get the quarterback, and everything falls into place.
The continuity and the institutional knowledge that you have when you have those, never mind the coordinators. And this is something that's not going to exist for the Patriots this year. New defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, at least to them. New quarterback meeting his receivers for the first time, new quarterbacks coach involvement. It's really going to be an uphill climb for them to even pretend that they are a finished product in any way, in any version. But can the Patriots even emulate what the Bengals did in terms of building their team?
I mean, I think if the quarterback is as good as they say, and it sounds like he's the next coming of Josh Allen, that's a good place to start. I mean, think about what they're coming off of. I mean, the last time the Patriots were here to open a season was the last opening day that Drew Bledsoe started for the Patriots. That was 2001, and now we're all the way back, and it's the first post Bill Belichick game. I mean, they're coming. I mean, if it's not ground zero, they're close. But they've got a guy from the Belichick, school, but they need the quarterback. I mean, and if he's legit, then that's as good a place as any to start. But if he's not, I mean, you've seen what happens if it's not. I mean, Mac Jones wasn't the answer, and there's been chaos, and that's what happens when the quarterback doesn't pan out. There's chaos.
And you've watched it time and time and time again. I mean, you end up with, the Red Rocket. He was fine. Absolutely fine. Right. Andy Dalton carried the team through for a decade, a fair decade of time. But prior to that, it was a revolving door. And I look at this Patriots team, and that's why I think it's important that they take care of Drake May. And Joe Burrow was a different player, but Drake May is being brought along slowly.
Yeah.
Why was Joe Burrow?
Jacoby Brissett. You know what? Jacoby Brissett is beating the Bengals with two different teams. So Jacoby Brissett I'm not taking him lightly, him walking in here. He's beat us twice with the Browns and with the Colts.
Why was Burrow perfectly suited to play as a rookie? And why was he able to withstand the absolute pummeling he took?
Because he's a special guy. I mean, they knew that the minute, no college quarterback had the year that he had. I mean, his numbers from passer rating, touchdowns to interceptions, nobody's ever done that. And we had those, you got the great story, right? Get the, coming back from, nobody was lower than Joe Burrow when he transferred from Ohio State. Nobody knew who the hell he was. He almost stayed and went to the University of Cincinnati until LSU called. So he's a resilient guy. He's a coach's son, too. I mean, he's got the right makeup. He's got I think the reason he's so smart cerebrally is he grew up in the household of a defensive coordinator, and he can read a defense as well as anybody. I mean, brains, toughness. I mean, they used to, the guys at Ohio State used to say how it was, those scrimmages at Ohio State, if you were running, scout team, you were getting slaughtered in the spring game. I'm not, that's probably when he faced his toughness, forget Aaron Donald, but standing up in an Ohio State spring game when you were the scout guy, that was tough. And like I said, I think the coach did a hell of a job with him, and you can't discount what Zach Taylor's done. I mean, Zach saw what he had, and he suited his offense to him. And, say what you will, but there's been a lot of guys who have been drafted in the top 5, and you never hear from them again, and because they were badly mishandled,
Badly mishandled.
But they did everything, and they did everything right with both.
So you've been covering the AFC North for a long time, AFC Central.
Alex Van Pelt's a good man. I mean,
that's what I'm asking.
Alex Van Pelt, you don't come any better than him. I mean, I thought he did a great job with Dalton in the couple years he was here. He's great with these off-platform throws. He's got a. He played the position. I mean, he broke Dan Marino's records at Pitt, and he was a trusted advisor to Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly's backup in the glory days in Buffalo. And he's seen it all. He's done it all. And he's just he's a really smart guy. And I think, he played the position. Like I said, he really helped out Dalton with just his mechanics, those off-platform throws that are so important just little stuff like that. He also started a great thing here. It's called Jeopardy. You play. It's a Jeopardy game, the quarterback's room. It's a tradition that he started the night before a game, and it's instead of Jeopardy questions, it's questions about the game plan, and they throw in stuff from pop culture and everything. And that was Alex had he had a big. He was a good guy. He really had a positive impact when he was here.
Yeah, so he's a good hand sent, Drake May, for this development.
Oh, he's perfect. I mean, he's perfect guy for a young quarterback.
And Brissett ahead of him is a good situation.
I'm sorry?
And the Brissett presence also would probably be the same deal.
He's seen everything. Brissett. Like I said, he's going to come in here. He's not going to be afraid of anything. Like I said, he's come in here. He's beaten us a couple times. So, but of course, I don't know how long May's going to be watching. I don't know. Is he going to be watching for a half, a week, 3 weeks, half a year? I don't know. You have to make that decision too. You have to make that decision now. Are we going to rush him or not rush him? And so you can't, long hook, short hook. You have to make that call now. If you don't want to put him in a bad situation, if you want to manage it, then, you're going to have to maybe sit on him for half a year.
And I think that's a little bit of their intention too right now, Geoff. Sit on it for a while, make sure that he is ready to go, that he can also be protected. And that's what's interesting. I encourage the Patriots, in our opining, trade down. Make the team better, then go get the quarterback. But the Patriots did what the Bengals did. They were not a strong team on the offensive line. They dropped the quarterback in, and it certainly worked out in Cincy.
Yeah, well, the thing is, ever since, Aaron Donald threw Burrow to the ground at the end of that Super Bowl, they've done nothing but spend money and draft on the offensive line. So I guess they kind of did it. When Carson Palmer got here, Carson Palmer arrived with Willie Anderson, who was the best right tackle of his era, and Levi Jones was a first-round pick at left tackle. Corey Dillon was his running back, and then Rudy Johnson. Chad Johnson was his wide receiver. So he had it pretty full covered. This time Burrow was the start, just like the starting with May. But then the next, I'm sure that's what the Patriots are going to do. They're going to be, drafting offensive linemen. They're going to be drafting wide receivers. And the thing was, in 21, a second year into the experiment or the plan, the Burrow plan, they caught lightning in a bottle because Jamar Chase was so good.
Well, that's the thing. They're going to need something like that. Butchie, really appreciate you. I'm not coming out to Cincinnati. Phil Perry will be out in Cincinnati. I know. We really appreciate you. Framingham's own Geoff Butch Hobson. Goodbye.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right, thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you, John Henry and Adam Jay-Z, for putting all this together, our producers, and we will see you down the road.